Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining this side event, which is part of the lead up to the 57th session of the Statistical Commission. The webinar is on leveraging AI in the production of official statistics, how AI helps NSOs deliver statistics faster, cheaper, and better. So today's session will focus on AI for data production, so to speak, the supply side of statistics, serving as the counterpart for the Friday seminar on 28th February, which will focus on AI readiness and data use, or what we would call the demand side of this conversation. So this seminar will be organized in 4 strategic dialogues around 4 concrete case studies. And each segment will consist of a 7-minute presentation, followed by 13 minutes strategic discussion. And the participants should use the Q&A tab in Teams to submit their questions throughout the event. Just to give you a few more housekeeping details, the agenda. We will have opening remarks by Mr. Ashwell Jenneker, who is Deputy Director General for Statistical Operations and Provincial Coordination at Statistics South Africa. Mr. Jenneker is representing the chair of the Bureau of the Committee of Experts on Big Data and Data Science for Official Statistics. And as a moderator, we will have Mr. Osama Rahman, who is Director of Strategy, Planning, Innovation, Delivery, Assurance and Support at the Office of National Statistics of the United Kingdom. And Mr. Rahman is representing the chair of the Data Science Leaders Network of the CBD. So the first segment on the use of AI to enhance statistical operations from manual processing to algorithmic supervision will start with a case study by Mr. Elio Villaseñor, who is director of the Data Science Laboratory and Modern Methods of Information Production in the National Institute of Statistics and Geography of Mexico. And we will have a discussion with Professor Xu Renjun from representing the Global China Hub and from Zhejiang University in China. Segment 2 will be on the use of AI to fill data gaps. And we will have a case study presented by Mr. Setia Pramana, Professor of Statistics at the Polytechnic Statistica STIS in Indonesia, and representing the Regional Hub for Big Data and Data Science for Asia and the Pacific in Indonesia. The discussion will be led with Ms. Maria Luisa Guerra Toledo, Head of Research in the National School of Statistical Sciences in the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, IBGE, and also representing the UN Regional Hub for Big Data and Data Science in Brazil, and Mr. Markus Sovala, who is Director General of Statistics Finland. The third segment will be on the governance challenges of the AI in statistical organizations. And we will have a discussion, a presentation first by Mr. Matthias Jock from Statistics Netherlands, and discussants will be Mr. Gary Donnet, Interim Chief of Methodology and Statistics in New Zealand, and Ms. Francesca Frankie Kay, Chief Information Officer of the Central Statistics Office of Ireland. And finally, the final segment on institutionalizing AI in statistical production, we will have a presentation by Mr. Rohit Badwai, Deputy Director General on Data, Informatics and Innovation in the National Statistics Office of India. The discussion will be led with Mr. Ivan Murenzi, Director General of the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, and representing also the UN Regional Hub for Big Data in Africa. And so we will have at the end closing remarks by Mr. Amnur, Chief of the Data Innovation and Capacity Branch of the United Nations Statistics Division. With this, I would like to hand over to Mr. Jenneker from Statistics South Africa for the official opening remarks, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Louise. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are around the globe. and a heartily welcome from the Committee of Experts on Big Data and Data Science for Official Statistics. Now, according to Fortune Business Insights, the AI industry will grow from 367 billion to 2.5 trillion by 2034. This means a compound annual growth rate of about 26%. So when the committee of experts looked at this tremendous growth that will take place, we considered this when we changed our mandate in 2024, and we've now got specific reference to AI. And what we were specifically thinking about is we need to provide strategic direction to emerging new technologies and methodologies such as AI. And that's to the whole sort of official statistics industry. We also need to promote the practical use of AI in official statistics. Also, promote capacity development, enhance communication and advocacy for AI initiatives in the industry. Lastly, but the most important, we need to build trust. We need to build public trust for AI, but not just public trust. We also need to build trust in the industry. Because you must remember we're an old and established statistics industry. And when something new like AI comes along, we need to make sure that we build the trust so that we can adopt that into our processes. So the question is today, how do we produce statistics that's faster, that's less costly, and that's of higher quality? It means it's available at a lower level, but it's of higher quality. And we'll have discussions around that. So strategy is good. It's good to have strategy to know where we're going. But today we'll focus on implementation. So we're going to move from talking to doing. Osama, so we'll move to doing today. Not so much talking, but how do we start doing? So I wish you fruitful deliberations, and I hope that the discussions that will follow will bring you much closer to implementation. Thank you very much. Let me hand over to Osama. You take it from there. Thanks. You're still muted, Osama.
Handing over and telling me that I'm on mute. Thank you. As Luis has said, we have a great set of presentations and presenters and a great set of panelists and discussants. So I think we're going to have a really good conversation. So rather than waste any more time, let's go to my good friend Elio Villaseñor, and he's going to talk about using LLMs across the GSBPM.
Thank you, Osama. I will share my screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, you can see. Yep.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to present a project that we have conducted at INEGI and use large language models for a very specific high-impact task, coding open-ended responses in surveys and census. Before I introduce the project, let me briefly explain what large language models are. These models produce dense vector-based representations of language, unlike traditional approaches where document is represented as a sparse vector based on word occurrence. Language models represent words and text as vectors in a high-dimensional space. The key idea is that in that space, geometric distances reflect semantic relationships. Words with similar meanings tend to be close to each other, and analogous relationships are preserved in a consistent way. In addition, these representations are contextual. The same word may be mapped to different vectors depending on the context in which it appears. At INEGI, we're able to experiment with these models within our data science lab, an infrastructure that integrates both technological and human capabilities. This responds to the need to integrate diverse data sources and apply AI to tasks such as text classifications, geospatial analytics, and synthetic data generation, among other use cases. Specifically, we have developed machine learning models to automatic coding of open-ended responses. Traditionally, this process is manual. Expert coders interpret each response and assign a code from a reference classification catalog. These coded responses are essential for producing statistics. However, in many operations, the volume is extremely large. For instance, in a recent exercise of the intercensus survey, more than 12 million households were interviewed. So you can imagine the number of people needed to code all responses manually within a reasonable time frame. For some time, part of the task has been automated using rule-based approaches, driven by word occurrence patterns. In our experience, around 70% can be coded this way while preserving good quality, but the remaining 30% still requires manual coding. To reduce that workload, we developed machine learning methods that use already coded responses to train algorithms capable of detecting patterns in vector representation as text. With these algorithms, we found it possible to reduce manual effort while maintaining coding quality. In recent years, language models have significantly improved automatic coding because embedding representation capture meaning more effectively. The workflow changes as follows. Each word is represented as an embedding vector. Each response is modeled as a sequence of vectors, and models are trained to classify these sequences and assign appropriate code. The key element is that these models can output an uncertainty score, which can tune so that the system codes only those responses where the model is sufficiently confident. This allows us to quantify uncertainty and enforce a minimum desired level of quality. In recent operation, we achieved about a 50% reduction in manual coding workload while maintaining accuracy of 94.3% comparable to the quality typically observed in traditional manual workflows. In other words, we optimize the resources and reserve expert time to the most difficult cases. We also collaborate to implement this approach for automatic coding in Chile's victimization survey, achieving highly competitive resource. This analysis highlights the value of moving from traditional representations to embeddings and sequence-based models. Using word occurrences, features accuracy was around 85%. Adding embeddings with traditional methods like extreme gradient boosting increased performance to roughly 87%. Using sequence classification reached about 91%, and using a large model for example, Roberta, a fine-tune of BERT for Spanish, generate embeddings reach around 92%. It is important to note that large models such as BERT often require specialized computing infrastructure like high-performance GPUs, which may not be readily available in standard production environments at the statistical offices. Therefore, lightweight alternatives such as fast text embeddings remain very relevant, offering a strong balance between performance and computational cost. Working with embeddings and large language models also opens the door to intelligent agents. We are currently developing this with a goal of evaluating the quality of our institute's data and metadata so they can be effectively consumed by agents that answer questions using tabular data and knowledge encoded in metadata, such as variable definitions and survey design information. This model can generate SQL-like queries from natural language However, the critical step is providing the agent with the right context to accurately identify the relevant variables and determine the correct query. This is an ongoing effort. More broadly, we are exploring
Elio, you have
how
1
this,
minute left,
yes,
just to warn you.
yes, thank you. How these models can support different processes within the GSVPN. For example, a chatbot to train interviewers, tool to access data and metadata quality, automate generation of informative documents, and semantic search over our repositories. Lessons learned include a unified architecture is essential for scalability and production deployment. High performance on-premises computing supports data sovereignty and long-term sustainability. Finally, international collaboration has significantly accelerated our process. Going forward, our priorities include improving data and metadata quality to strengthen AI readiness, continuing to develop use cases that relate these models in products and services, and addressing challenges related to human and financial resources, continuous infrastructures updates, and the adoption of appropriate security measures. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Elio. And as always, great stuff from Ineki. Right. Is Renjun with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Is your camera
Let
on?
me share. Okay. Okay, can you hear? Okay. Hey, Osama, can you see my screen? Can you see my
No.
camera?
No, there we go. Now I can see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Osama, and thank you, Mr. Villaseñor, for a very concrete and well-structured demonstration. This is exactly what this session promised. Moving from AI potential to AI production. I will not recap what you have shown. Instead, let me name what I think is the most strategically significant thing in your presentation, because it is easy to miss amid the technical detail. What Inegi has built is not just an automated coding system, it is a tunable governance architecture. The trade-off tunable accuracy curve you showed is not a technical artifact, it is a policy instrument. It gives the subject matter director, not just the data scientist, a level to decide how much human oversight to retain. And that design choice, in my view, is what makes this architecture ready for production in a way that many AI parts are not. But the curve also surfaces a profound question about the shifting role of the statistician, which is the focus of our session. So let me put two questions to Mr. Villaseñor, and then I will offer some broader reflections for the room. The first question, Elio, your presentation showed AI deployed across 4 phases of GSP BPM, from interview or training agents in phase 4, through automatic coding in phase 5, quality assessments in phase 6, to document generation, semantic search, and chatbots in phase 7. That is a remarkably broad footprint. My question is about the people. When you moved automatic coding into production, what happened to the coding staff? Was it retrained as supervisor of the algorithm, reviewing the cases below the confidence threshold, or was it deployed to other tasks? And practically speaking, did they need new skills that your organization had to build?
Yes, thank you very much, Renfrew, for your question. And yes, the people that the coder experts that are already in the institution still coding the hard, the difficult responses, right? And many other the workforce that was needed for coding the whole responses are not permanent staff of the institute. They are hired for the concrete operation, right? So we just need to hire less people now for that.
I see. Very interesting. So I guess for maybe, but for other, do you have any suggestion for other statistic offices? Maybe they have the previous statisticians. How should they? Do you have any suggestion? Do they need some skill retraining or redeployment? Do you have any suggestion?
Benjamin, do you want to repeat the question?
Okay. So my question is maybe for other offices, we have coding. Previously, we have coding staff, right? We have coding staff. We need. Do you have a suggestion for those offices? Should they deploy the coding staff to other maybe higher level low, or should they should they retrain those coding staff to maybe to train with maybe who have the higher level of skills to handle when we have a new scenario? Should we retrain those staff, or do you have any suggestion on that?
I have to say that the putting in production these models is an already new thing that is happening right now in AG. Actually, the intercensal survey was the first operation that we have put in production this coding system. So many of the consequences of doing this we have already just starting to face, right? We don't have the evaluation of the processes already made. It is something that is already happening.
Yeah, I guess the human capital freed up for maybe the human capital maybe can be freed up for higher value work.
Yes.
So maybe So okay.
Yes, that's the idea.
Okay. So now I have a second question. Is this about something your slides revealed that I found very striking? The crime narrative classification work, the joint project between INEGI and Chile showed a calibration diagram where you use the temperature scaling to align the model's confidence score with actual accuracy, and you publish the full pipeline as open source code on GitLab. Here's what I want to ask: the certain parameter, the confidence threshold that determines what gets out-coded and what goes to human review. Who decides where to set it? Is it the data scientist, the survey director, or some institutional governance body? And is that decision documented as part of the statistical methodology, the way we document sampling, design, or estimation procedures?
Yes, it has to be the methodologies, right? And as you mentioned, we have a threshold of uncertainty level, and we move this threshold for different classes, so we can guarantee that we preserve the quality of qualification made by manual coders, right? That's the general idea.
Okay, thank you, Elio. So I want to build on both of your answers and our three reflections for the room. First, from the shifting role of the statistician, what INEGI experience illustrates and what Mr. Villaseñor has just described from the inside is that automating routine process does not eliminate the need for statistical judgment. It relocates it. The statistician's expertise moves from executing the coding task to governing the systems that executes it, setting the confidence threshold, monitoring for distribution shift when new response patterns emerge, deciding when to retrain, and signing off on the quality of the AI-assisted output. This is a higher order role and frankly a more intellectually demanding one. But our training programs and our job descriptions in most NSOs have not yet caught up with this reality. Mr. Villaseñor's own lesson that human and budgetary resources across the organization remain a challenge underlines this point. The second one is on balancing efficiency and rigor. The tunable trade-off curve is elegant, but it raises a governance question that goes beyond energy. If 94.3 accuracy at 50% of the coding is the chosen operating point for one survey, who ensures consistency across different surveys within the same office? What if the population survey team sets an aggressive threshold while the economic survey team is more conservative? We need institutional level governance frameworks, standard operating procedure for AI-assisted production, not just team level technical decisions. The UNEC quality framework for statistical algorithm provides the conceptual foundation, but operationalizing is the work ahead. The third one is on making these gains globally accessible. I want to highlight something from Inegi's presentation that deserves more attention. The Inegi collaboration on crime narrative classification published as open source code. This is a model of source collaborations that makes efficiency gains transferable. A statistical office in another Spanish-speaking country can adapt that pipeline rather than build it from scratch. At the UN Global Hub in China, we have taken a similar approach. In December 2025, we contributed to the launch of the UN Handbook on remote sensing for agricultural statistics, a code-first reproduction toolkit. The principle is the same. Not every NSO building its own AI from scratch, but a global community maintaining shared validated open tools. The strategic question I want to leave with this room is, can we do the same for AI-assisted survey coding? Can the UN Global Platform host validated multilingual coding models for standard classifications, occupation, industry, crime type that any office can deploy? The technical ingredients exist thanks to the kind of work Energy is leading. What we need is the collaborative commitment. Thank you, Osama.
Thank you. Brilliant discussion. Okay, Elio, there is a question for you in the Q&A tab from my colleague Fahad Anwar here at the ONS. And he's interested in hearing about, the benefits from training a bespoke model versus just using an existing LLM and RAG. Do you have views on when you might favor one approach over the other? So the question is in the Q&A tab, if you can see it.
Okay. Well, actually, to build a RAG, we need to use a LLM. Maybe it's not very obvious, but this is because in commercial solutions we just build the RAG given the LLM the right context, right? But if we work with an LLM that is already in our own infrastructure, we can build the RAG with this LLM. And when we use the embeddings, we it's like we use the abstract representation of the text and can go straightforward by a typical machine learning procedure. And I think that it is a more standardized way to pursue that, asking directly to the agent in the classification workloads. Maybe the advantage that use the RAG is that you don't need a big training data set, right? This is maybe the main advantage of doing that. If you don't have a great a large training data set, is a way to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ranjan, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
As we use Gen AI more and more across the GSBPM, the traditional ways in which we've assessed statistical methodology may not work. Do you have any thoughts on actually, when doing this sort of work, how do you assess quality?
That's an excellent question, and it gets at something fundamental. traditional quality framework for official statistics like the European Statistical Code of Practice, the UN Fundamental Principles, the UNEC equality dimensions were designed for a world where the production process was deterministic and traceable. You could audit every step. With Gen AI model, that traceability breaks down. The model's reasoning is not directly inspectable. So how do we assume quality? I think we need a layered approach. The first layer is output validation, the benchmarking against the ground truth. This is what NSO has done well. Compare the model's codes against a human-coded gold standard and measure accuracy, precision, recall. This works for classification tasks where we have historical reference data. It is necessary but not sufficient. The second layer is calibration, ensuring the model knows what it does not know. The crime narrative work that NSO published with the initially uses template scaling to calibrate the model's confidence score. So that when the model says I'm 90% confident, it is actually correct 90% of the time. This is critical because the entire human in the loop architecture depends on the quality of the uncertainty estimates. If the model is overconfident or low quality, or breaks through. Calibration testing should become a standard part of the AI quality assurance toolkit for the NSOs. The third layer is behavior monitoring in production. This is a piece most offices have not yet built. Once the model is deployed, you need to continuously check whether today's distribution of input matches the distribution the model was trained on. If survey responders start describing their job differently because of economic change or new industries or even linguistic drift, the model's training data becomes stale. Statistical process control techniques which our community knows well can be adapted for this purpose. Control charts on model confidence distribution, alert rules on category level accuracy, periodical revalidation against fresh human-coded samples. The fourth layer, and this is specific to generative AI as opposed to classification AI, is semantic evaluation. When generative AI produces a statistical report or metadata description, there is no single correct answer to benchmark against. Here we need a different quality paradigm. Human expert review of a random sample, structured rubrics for factual accuracy and coherence, and increasingly AI-assisted evaluation where a second model checks the first. This is an active area of research, and I would not claim we have solved it, but the principle is clear. Any Gen AI output that enters the official statistical production chain must be subject to documented quality review, and the review process itself must be auditable. The honest answer is that traditional quality methodology still works for the principles: accuracy, timelines, coherence, comparability, but the measurement tool needs to expand it. That expansion is an urgent task for the international statistical community, and the UNECBD and the DCLN are the right bodies to lead it. Thank you, Suma.
Thank you. And Elio, I've got one last question for you. This is in the Q&A from Ogochukwu Ijezi. So how have you handled cases where the AI model produces incorrect classifications? And then what mechanisms are in place to make sure those errors don't propagate?
Yes, right. This is a question. Well, we can avoid that some errors from classification. Actually, manual coders also make mistakes because not everyone is expert, and they apply different criteria for some code. So we have to live with that errors. What we can do with machine learning algorithms is that we can have as an output the uncertainty of the confidence of the model to make the classification, right? So we can use this factor of confidence to leave the difficult cases to the experts. That's the way we can manage that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make one comment because I think you said something very important. I think with the hype around AI, you hear, oh, hallucinations, everything else. The incorrect benchmark, as you've said, is not 0 errors. The correct benchmark is what's the error rate given our current methodology, and that's what you need to benchmarking, which I think is a very important point, and I think a lot of people miss out on that. Okay, that was a fantastic presentation and discussion, and thank you for those who asked questions. Sorry, we're not going to have time to answer every question that's raised in the Q&A, but keep them coming for each section, and we'll make sure we answer some. Okay. So next up, we have my very good friend Setia Pramana from Statistika Polytechnic in Indonesia. I'm excited about this because for quite a few years, I've been hearing about all the great work that they've been doing in Indonesia. So
Yes.
today, Setia is going to talk about using AI to derive timely statistics from satellite imagery. Setia, are you here?
Yes. Can you hear me, Osama?
I can hear you. Can't see. Oh, there we go. You can see your
Okay.
presentation. Right. So I think you just have
Okay,
to tell.
thanks.
I think Clarence is running the presentation, so you just have to tell him next slide or whatever you want. Right.
Okay. Thank you, Clarence.
Over
Okay,
to
thank you,
you.
Osama. Thank you very much, Osama. It's great to meet you over after the year. So thank you very much for inviting me, and then it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this event and meet all my old friends like Elio and all colleagues here. I think it's also good names of colleague from UNSD and also from UNSPD. And Osama, right now I'm just like almost a month appointed as the director of statistical methodology right now in NBP Statistics Indonesia. I'm still also holding the director of regional hub on big data and data science for official statistics in Asia and the Pacific. I think next, yeah. Okay, yes. So before focusing on I think the moderations of agricultural statistics using AI and non-traditional data sources, let me just overview what we have done so far. I just brief overview what we have done. Mostly is about using several data sources such as mobile processing data for different type of official statistics such as tourism statistics, migrations, and also other statistics. We will focus later about mixed method, how to use the satellite for agricultural statistics. Next, please. We also, as Elio, we also try to use the AI, Gen AI, for ISIC classification. So it is leveraging generative AI for automatic predictive of Indonesian standard industrial classifications. Now it's been, we are still working on that, and then we hopefully that we can use it for our economic census this year. Also, we have, I think this one also I discussed and also have some very good feedback last year together with Osama that we developed now AI knowledge for metadata, chatbot, and automatic interpretations. But today, next please, I'm going to just focus because I just have 7 minutes. Oh, I still have another one, sorry. We also use the Earth observation for poverty mapping and also chat deprivations. For poverty mapping, it's we have the SDGs award for this in 2023, and then for mixed method, actually, we just last year we have also SDGs award for using satellite imagery for agricultural statistics. Next, please. Yes. So agriculture statistics is a fundamental data, right, for policy, especially in Indonesia, for inflation control and also national planning. But next, please. The traditional data collection method alone no longer sufficient to meet the today demands. As you know that we need to have data timely, granular, and also high frequency statistics. So initiate a transformation starting for a few years ago to integrate satellite imageries, machine learning, and also other big data sources into official statistic production, especially for agricultural statistics. So traditionally, right now, Statistics Indonesia conducts the area sampling frame survey every month, especially in the last week. And then this is to obtain the paddy phenolical stage, so the harvest and estimation times. And also we have sampling frame survey for obtaining the productivity, right? So these methods actually provide strong ground truth, but it has limitations. It has high operational costs, because we have thousands of staff going to the field every month, and also time constraints, and also related to logistical challenges across Indonesia because some of area is difficult to access, also maybe dangerous to access, also a limited temporal frequency. So we try to combine the use of satellite imagery or also machine learning algorithm to predict the next please to predict the paddy phenological phases. So we know that we start from tillage, vegetative 1, vegetative 2, and etc. So we use satellites to predict the area of the area and also the phenological phases of this fat paddy. Why paddy? Because this is our main staple. So why we use Sentinel? Why the Sentinel? Because it's radar based and also it can penetrate clouds. It works well in tropical region like Indonesia, and then hopefully we can detect planting and also growing stages, and also hopefully that we can detect harvesting phases. And then this is a crucial breakthrough because it allows continuous monitoring. Not only we don't need to we don't need to bring our staff to the field, but we can allow us to continue monitoring without waiting for a field visit, which is actually difficult. And then we also use this based on the guidance principle of visual statistics. Next, please. And yeah, so how the prediction is made. So this actually in collaboration with several agencies and also ministries in Indonesia, and also we collaborate with the UNSD, UNESCAP, and also with several agencies such as FAO. So in Indonesia, we collaborate with BRIN, our research agencies, and then we based on the Sentinel data images from BRIN, from the research agency. For every 12 years, we check the ISF segment, and then we predict the probability of each periodical classes. And then later, we try to estimate all phases area, particularly the harvested paddy, using the sampling design, including relative standard error. Next.
Sergi, just to let you know, you've got like a minute left.
Yes. Next, please. Yes, this is actually because Indonesia is quite big, so we also make some checking area, the ground check area, and then in general, right, most of the provinces have accuracy above 80%. Of course, there's still area that below 80% of accuracy, and then based on the estimation, the new method demonstrates the capability of capturing the harvesting patterns similar to the current official data through ISF, air sampling frame survey, and then we have high accuracy in some area. So in some area with low accuracy, actually we try to fine tune the model. Next, please. The last one. Yes. So the product delivery, it's been like part of the UN Handbook of Remote Sensing for Agricultural Statistics with Gilberto and Lorenzo and also Ronald on the UN. So it's part of this. And then if you want to know in more detail about this, we also have knowledge videos to share. We have also the product of publication, but it's still in Bahasa Indonesia. Later, we also will put that in English. Next. Yes, last year we have awards of this method of this breakthrough geo awards, member awards of modernizing agricultural statistic using satellite imagery for paddy phenological stage. I think that's all because I just have only 7 minutes. Hopefully that can thank you very much for your attention, and then looking forward for any fruitful discussion or comment for our
Thank you,
method.
Sergio.
Thank you.
7 minutes, but there was a lot in there. Fantastic.
Thank you, Osama.
Okay, Maria Luisa and Marcus, are you here?
Yes.
Yes.
Can't see you yet.
Can you see me? I'm here, Osama.
I can hear you. Can't see you yet. Is your camera on?
Yes, it's on. Can't you see me?
I
Let me
can see
raise.
Marcus now. And now I can see you as well, Mary Louisa. Great. Okay, fantastic. Setia, you should keep your camera on because I am going to bring you into this discussion as well. So don't disappear. Right.
I'm here.
Okay, so Mary Louisa, I'm going to go to you first. What work has the Brazil Regional Hub been doing to enable more use of AI-derived statistics using big data to fill the gaps? And then how do you determine what use cases to investigate?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this important discussion. Osama, it's truly a pleasure to be here, especially with my colleague Setia from the Regional Hub in Indonesia. And I think that Setia example clearly illustrates the potential of AI-derived statistics to fill the critical data gaps, particularly when we think about domains where traditional surveys face limitations in costs. And however, I think it also raises an essential question for NSOs, né? Under what conditions can AI-derived outputs be used responsible as official statistics? And from the perspective of the UN Regional Hub for Big Data in Brazil, this is one of the central questions guiding our work across Latin America and the Caribbean. Our recent consultation with 21 countries showed that almost 40% of the NSOs already have AI initiatives integrated into their production process, most commonly in the processing phase to improve like data validation, cleaning, and efficiency. This confirms that AI is already strengthening statistical production, but scaling its use to fill statistical gaps requires clear and robust criteria to ensure quality and trust. And supporting countries in operationalizing these principles is a central priority of the Regional Hub. One example is our regional project with 11 countries to develop climate change indicators using satellite imagery and AI through a shared cloud-based platform. And these initiatives enables countries to co-develop validated methodologies, to share infrastructure and ensure consistent quality standards. And in parallel, through our training activities with the UN Global Platform, we are helping countries assess cloud-native data science infrastructure and build the capacity required to validate and to deploy these methods responsibly. And this work also helps identify some priority use case. We focus particularly on domains where there are clear policy needs, where traditional data sources are insufficient, and where alternative data sources can complement the existing statistical systems. And what we have seen is that AI does not replace statistical systems. It strengthens their ability to fulfill their core mission by combining strong validation frameworks, transparent methodologies, and shared infrastructure. The NSOs can responsibly use AI-derived statistics to fill the critical gaps while maintaining the trust and the important statistical integrity.
Thank you. Marcus, I've got a question for you. I think, from Setia's presentations, there's two aspects here that take us away from traditional production of statistics. And one is that these sorts of big data are not data that NSOs have traditionally been used to working with. We tend to work with data we either collect ourselves and also maybe government administrative data. So, this big data stuff it's not our data. And then using Gen AI tools, that's not part of the standard skill set of statisticians in NSOs. So how, as a leader, do you set a culture that allows for innovation and that encourages the use of big data and new approaches?
Thank you, Osama. May I start by noting that use of AI in the context of geospatial data is extremely natural, in the sense that these satellite observations and also other forms of collecting data where the physical location of the object is measured, because it can be done without satellite information. But the nature of the data is that the data sets are huge, and it's very natural to ask, can we somehow automatize the process of using the data? And also you mentioned the important aspect here. Even Statistics Finland is not really big user of satellite observations, because we have access to other big data sets. Having these the location information included, the nature of the satellite imaginary and the administrative data is exactly, there's one exact aspect what is similar, is that we are not able to very much affect how the data is collected. We have to cope the data with someone else has produced. We don't simply have resources to force other data collectors collect exactly information what we need. We have to cope with the already existing data. And this is my basically first question related to our speaker today. How much work would you describe is actually done inside a statistical institution, and how much outside in other government agency? And secondly, how this everything is financed? Who is paying to whom? I mean, is this data expensive? And is the accuracy of data high enough? I've understood that the kind of very the data where the granularity is high, it's free or almost free, very cheap. But more you want to get information, more you have to pay. How you have handled this cost part of the story? Do you have a budget for compensating this data, or is the data given to you free? And finally, definitely everything is a question of what our organizations, what we are able to do. It's actually a big process of learning and changing organizations. I believe that this consists of kind of a right combination of planning and anarchy. In an anarchy, I mean in a sense that every person is a kind of, every person has a size of a creativity, a side of a kind of research attitude, and there are a lot of things that you have to experiment. But to get these what people invent and learn into production needs very normal structures, that you have to set targets, you have to set timetables, you have to define your corporate policies, and so it's a kind of balancing these different aspects. And basically, I feel that my role is to try to generate environment and culture where people can freely start to think, perhaps I can use the AI in my everyday work. Perhaps I can try to do it some here or in some other place. But at the same time, I feel that I have to start to ask, is this in a production or are you just dreaming about it? So it's a combination of the encouragement and gradually going towards demanding results. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have to say I'm all in favor of a bit of anarchy, personally. And you raised an interesting point around costs and financing, particularly with lots of this data being generated through private companies. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. And how, I think this is for another discussion somewhere else at another time, what are the things we have to do to make this data a public good? But that's for another discussion. There's a bunch of things there that you both raised, and I'm just going to go back to Sekia for a second. Sekia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Oh, there, your camera's off again.
Yes.
I can't see you.
Yeah.
So you're
I'm
also
here,
heavily You're also heavily involved in training through the university. Just so I'm interested in what have you been doing to ensure statisticians have the skills and technical knowledge to use, these new forms of data, machine learning tools, Gen AI tools. So what have you been doing on the training side? Because that's actually quite important, I think.
Okay, thank you. Can I just respond to Marcus and then respond to
yes, of course.
you, Osama? Just a bit with what. Thank you very much, Marcus and also Maria, Luisa. So a good pleasure to have all the comments from you. And then just quick respond to what I think what issue raised by Maria and also by Marcus, that how it works, right? And how about the funding or the team and the planning, etc. For example, the cost related to the data sources. Indeed, the data of big data is not free. Some, for example, mobile phone, we have to pay in collaboration with our mobile network operators. But for example, for satellite, we can obtain it for Central because it's free. But again, it's in collaborating with our research agency, which actually they are they're making the satellite imageries to fit to our needs. And then whether it's only BPS, of course, we in the beginning, actually the challenge is not only about technical capacities, also related to collaboration between ministries. For example, Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Finance. I think related to the budget, Marcus. I think you mentioned about that, the budget, and also how about we can use the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Research, etc. So in the first years, actually, it started on like 3 years ago. In the first years, we try to collaborate to make into one single vision that we can use satellite imagery as part of our national office official statistics. And then right now it's still on the research, but mixed method, actually the use of Earth observation is part of the big data utilization roadmap of BPS Statistics Indonesia, and hopefully its goal to be official this year. That's why I'm appointed to be the director, to make sure that I think it can be used as official. And then what you mentioned again, Osama, related to the training, right? Of course, we conduct. Luckily, we have a Polytechnic Statistica STS where we have also discarded of our regional hub, same like FG, and also the same like what Maria have in Brazil. We have school where we actually not only produce young talent data scientists and statistician, but also actually together with BPS Statistics Indonesia, together with training center of BPS Statistics Indonesia, we conduct a regular training, hands-on workshop covering big data management, machine learning, and AI topics, including like Gen AI, responsible AI, and etc. And this also we organize a knowledge sharing program the statistics community, including government institution, academia, and also practitioner. This hopefully can accelerate the collective learning and promote good practice of AI and also visual statistics in Indonesia. I think that's just to respond to your comment, Osama. Thank you.
Right. I think we've got time for one or two questions that have come up. I think this one is going to Satya. How do you do the validation of ground truth validation? So this is a question from Anonymous in the Q&A, their second question.
I cannot hear you. Maybe my connection. Let me check.
Okay. How do you do the validation, the ground truth validation? Uh-oh.
I lost signal here. Can you repeat, Osama? I'm sorry that maybe the connection is bad here.
So these mixed methods, you often with these sorts of data, especially with Earth observation data, there's some ground truth validation that needs to be done. How have you been doing that?
Oh, yes. So we select several area in different type of areas in Indonesia, like in the coastal area, in the mountain areas, to see the situation of the ground check. So we send several staff to some area to check out whether our prediction actually happens in true in the field. So that's why we observe that most of the area actually have high accuracy, but some area maybe it's not that good. For example, area that mountainous area that's difficult to access. For example, that's area that have lower accuracy. But we send I think more than almost 100 of staff to go to the field and then check the prediction, and then we actually have to inline the time where the satellite is going through the area and the time that we have to go and check, because sometimes the window of checking should be the same when the satellite moving in that area and then the time when we are going to the field. Sama.
Okay. Much as Eric is a friend, I'm going to leave his question because you can always get in touch with Setia directly, even via me. I've got one for Maria Luisa. We'll pick up Eric's question separately. I've got a question for Maria Luisa, which is kind of similar. Again, it's around, what have you been doing in terms of skill, any specific things that you think are important in terms of building skills for using, this sort of big data and, using these techniques? I know you've been doing quite a bit. Anything that you think is particularly important?
Yes, there are some aspects that are important. And when we think about the big question, under what conditions can AI-derived outputs be used responsible as official statistics? So we need to think about many skills that must be developed in the staff. When you think that the statistician, maybe he's going to change his ability from being the one that's going to make all of the analysis, but to be a supervisor of the models. So we have like a more focus on the computational aspects, and we try to give this approach in our trainings, and also to define some reference to work. For example, when the statistician need to validate again the trusted reference data, because the AI derived estimates must be like always compared with survey data, administrative sources, and this kind of principles that must guide the production of official statistics, also related to how to measure and communicate the uncertainty because when we are thinking about AI outputs, it must like include clear information about their confidence and their limitations, and how we transport the statistical knowledge, the theoretical statistical knowledge, to this kind of universe. And also, I think there is a change in how we see the models, because as Setia mentioned, the assessment of potential bias and the fitness for purpose, and we need, the statistician need to see that the models are not perfect. They must be like sufficiently reliable for the intended statistical use. And I think a last point that must be in the core of the training for a statistician, the question about transparency and reproducibility, because the methods must be documented very clearly, and the staff need to be like oversighting the model design, the validation, implementation. So like as the regional hub, we try to focus our supporting to the countries in operationalizing these principles as a central priority for the new skills that must be developed.
Thank you. Marcus, I have one last quick question for you. In a world where you allow a bit of anarchy and new entrants into NSOs are just, technically stronger and stronger all the time, for old people like me whose technical skills aren't what they used to be, but has to supervise this work, what's the capability development people like me need?
Oh, well, perhaps the most important thing is trying to listen what people are saying. If you don't understand what they are doing, you may ask, and also it's helpful for younger people that you are trying to force them to explain what they are trying to do. It also helps them to understand what they are doing, but also. I tried to emphasize that the leadership in a condition what is uncertain, because many aspects of use of AI are such that we simply don't know. No one knows what can be done. Then the good policy is to people at the same time try what they want, try. Let them to create their own methods and ideas, and also let them to just to play the tools. We decided to open to buy Copilot a little better license for 40% of stuff. So it was a random number, 40%, and 40% of stuff they have now a better Copilot license, and then they can start to play with it. But so the playing, it's a way to create ideas. But quite soon you have to ask people that, can you show me that what you have done is actually beneficial for our institution? So it's a combination of free thinking and gradually the planning and discipline orders are coming to affect the playing ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Marcus, Maria-Luisa, Setia, thank you very much, and we'll move on to the next session.
You.
Okay, so
thank you very much.
We're now going to move on and hear about the governance challenges of AI in statistical organizations from the PETS task team. And Matthias Jug from the PETS task team and Stats Netherlands is going to do a presentation. And Gary Dunnett from Stats New Zealand and Frankie Kay from CSO Ireland are going to be discussing. So, Matthias, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Osama. Yeah, just sharing the screen. Oh, it's already there. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you for the invitation to present the work of our task team. So the privacy enhancing technologies task team has been active since 2018, investigating the role of pets in official statistics. And since 2022, we also have UN Pet Lab, which is kind of a community of practice, also doing experimentation, practical experimentation. So first of all, I would like to thank all colleagues from the task team and UN Pet Lab for providing input for this presentation. Next slide. Let's start with what are pets. So there are a lot of definitions floating around, but I like this one because it's very simple. Privacy enhancing technologies are a suite of tools that can help maximize the use of data by reducing the risks inherent to data use, which captures that pets really focus on the data in use as opposed to traditional encryption, which focus on other parts of the cycle, and basically reducing the privacy and confidentiality risks. Next one. So in that respect, some people even talk about not just privacy enhancing technologies, but partnership enhancing technologies, because they also improve trust. And then in many use cases, we need to rely on the other partners, like data providers, like researchers, or tech companies, and pets can help there. And then finally, if you click again, they support principles of privacy by design, purpose limitation, data minimization, all those principles that come with the privacy regulations such as GDPR. Next slide. Going now to the AI, let's look at the definition of AI model. According to Google, the AI model is a computer program or algorithm. And this is a bit misleading because it's not the kind of algorithm or program that traditionally we were used to, because it can learn patterns and relationships in the data, which means that, next one, AI model actually is data or can contain the data that can be sensitive. Of course, it was trained on sensitive data. So we need to treat AI models differently than we had been treating the regular methods in the past. Next. So that means there are a lot of additional disclosure risks that come with the AI and AI pipeline. So I would just mention very quickly a couple of them. So of course, if we want to train the model on sensitive data, that often includes some risks with leakage of sensitive information. Then the model itself can leak, like similarly that our outputs can leak the data if they are not protected. Also models can leak. The AI models enable more complex attacks. Prompt injection, like we were used to SQL injection, now we have model prompt injection in LLMs. And even, it is possible in some circumstances to even reverse engineer the whole model, or data can leak in the logs. Next. Going now to pets. So here, I will refer to our definition or classification of pets that we developed as part of the UN task team. In input privacy pets, broadly, there are methods, cryptographic and other methods that provide some guarantees that one or more parties can participate in computation with assurance that other parties will not learn anything about the sensitive data of that party. And on the other side, the output privacy is guaranteed that sensitive information cannot be reverse engineered. So in examples in input privacy are, of course, encryption, like you can work on fully encrypted or partially encrypted data, or you can split the data in the parts that cannot be readable on itself, but you can compute with them in case of secure multi-party computation. Or in output privacy examples, we can have statistical disclosure control, like k-anonymization, but also new methods like a differential privacy. Next. So now let's go to the examples. I will start with confidential AI. This is based on secure enclaves, and secure enclave is an approach that actually was used in production in Indonesia, and Setia mentioned already that use case for protecting mobile phone data, but of course can be also used to protect not just data, but also the models as well as the user interaction with the model. And this approach can be extended into the confidential federated retrieval augmented generative systems, which are more complex use cases because they also protect the knowledge bases so that information cannot leak from there. So that's kind of one more centralized example. And next example is example of a more distributed scenario. So in that case, within the UMPET lab, we have a project that started back in 2022 with the idea that if NSOs need to share and collectively train the model on their own data without wanting to share the training data, of course, then you can organize a protocol with federated learning and have iterative model training and then uploading the weights that are then uploaded into the new version of the model. Now, federated learning on itself doesn't provide complete privacy guarantees. So in that case, the team also experimented with differential privacy and homomorphic encryption, which are methods to do this part of protection. And the results were published in a paper. So next.
You've got about a minute left.
Yeah,
perfect.
With conclusions. So by mitigating these risks of data exposures that I explained, PET can act as trust technologies. So allow AI to be used responsibly and safely. And examples of that could be that we can minimize the data that is needed from the input side or make sure that it's confidential. We can also support, the PETs can also support purpose enforcement. For example, scripts in secure enclaves have to be pre-agreed, which means that they cannot be used for other purposes than what was already agreed. Then I mentioned protecting user data prompts and model weights, enable co-creation and sharing of AI models, and also more automated disclosure control. So basically increasing the trust between the collaborating parties. And finally, the next slide. I would just like to leave this on. So in the task team, we are collecting, disseminating case studies from projects that are introducing PETs. And in the new update of UMPET guide, we will particularly focus on the data governance aspects of PETs, and that includes the role of PETs in AI. And within the work streams, we already have practical experimentation that's supported by the UN Global Platform, and we plan to have next open house in April. So we will provide invitation to that day. Thank you very much, and look forward for questions.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, Gary, Frankie. Are you
Hi,
here?
Osama.
Hi.
Okay, so far I can see you, hear you, but can't see you yet.
Okay. I can see me. Can you see me yet? I think it's just
No.
taking a little time to get from Cork. Yeah.
Okay. Matthias, can you see them? Okay. That's interesting.
Can you see me now?
Okay. All right, well, let's go to it, because you know what? Frankie and I are very good friends. I know what she looks like. Okay. And Gary and I are also very good friends, so I know what he looks like, even though I can't see either of them right now. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Everyone can see Frankie apart from me. Okay. I don't know. Frankie, look, sort of Matthias has sort of talked about AI models and some of the risks, and they are able to pass large-scale data very quickly and repeatedly, variations. And you know, this raises issues around confidentiality and disclosability. at a senior leadership level, how do you get an organization to address such issues? Again, I think, with these emerging technologies, right? I think we're quite used to addressing these issues with the data we have used and the statistical methods we have used, but the world's changing. So how at a senior leadership level do you get an organization to address such issues?
Yeah, thank you, and an absolutely fascinating presentation from Matthias. I certainly learned a lot from it, so thank you very much. And obviously, Matthias has kind of made some really interesting points in terms of, is there a real potentially a real shift in our relationships with stakeholders, and a little bit, although he was talking about it was about building trust, but it's almost saying actually don't trust anybody. And including and maybe particularly our tech providers. And somebody coming from the technology side, been thinking a lot about sort of cyber attacks, and of course zero trust is one of the bases for that, and therefore maybe moving it into other areas in terms of relationships is perhaps a sensible, absolutely sensible thing to do. But I guess one of my reflections on what Matthias was talking about is those sorts of technology and techniques, are really interesting, but they're quite expensive, and they can be quite difficult to implement. Using scarce resources, and lots of NSOs are facing funding challenges. So whilst technology absolutely plays a part in this, I think it's part of the approach to the challenges that you were mentioning. And I suppose I'm kind of thinking, it's interesting what you say, has it changed a lot? Is this a mind shift for our staff in terms of how they interact with data and these models? But I suppose, to me, we've always had to protect our data. So how much is it really a change at a high level for NSOs? So in a way, many of the issues around confidentiality and disclosability are not necessarily that different from the challenges that we've always faced in using data. But of course, the scale is completely different, and therefore the approaches that Matthias was talking about are absolutely necessary. And I was very interested in what Renyon was talking about in the first presentation, about, thinking about some of the less technology-based or centric processes, such as making sure that we're benchmarking, we're retraining to avoid model drift, etc. So I suppose my point is that we can't just rely on technology. We need to have a holistic approach to governing AI, and we will have some of those aspects already in place. I think somebody else also mentioned the codes of practice that we have, such as the UN's Fundamental Code of Practice and the EU's ESCOP. So they're still really relevant in terms of providing foundations in how we govern the use of Gen AI within statistics. We've still got to maintain trust with our stakeholders. And in particular, in this area, it's about maintaining the trust of people and the companies that are providing their data to us, whether that's directly through surveys or, in this case, obviously indirectly through the training data that's in these models. So we've got to be transparent about what data we collect and what we're going to do with it. We need to continue to make sure it's representative and without bias. And those challenges are applicable to all of the data we use, as well as Gen AI models. And somebody also mentioned data is at the heart of this, data quality. And again, it does become more challenging in the world of LLMs, but we do have the skills to review and analyze it. And again, there are similarities that we can learn from admin or big data. I'm leading an EU project which is around AI and machine learning in official statistics. And one of the work packages is providing an amended quality model for machine learning, for example, which is based around the total survey error model. I think we're going to need to have human in the loops or on the loops, and that's going to be a really important part of our quality assurance going forward for quite some time. We need to continue to think about ethics. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And it reinforces that need about being transparent about what we're doing. And we have to be thinking, in our organisations, what are the legal frameworks in which we're operating? So in the EU, we have the AI Act, but that has to be led alongside GDPR and the data governance. And I suppose also some NSIs are also taking on a role of data stewardship and working with organizations that create the data that are used to perhaps train these models. But it's extremely difficult to do that once you get beyond the public sector. And this actually might mean us trying to expand into engaging with tech companies to try and help make sure, we're keeping our data safe, we're protecting privacy and confidentiality, whilst making sure that the training data and the answers these models come up with, are at the quality and the standard and the citations that we expect within the world of official statistics. I'll be honest, it's quite a sensitive topic at the moment, as countries are almost becoming to become less dependent on the current large tech companies. There's a lot of discussions around data sovereignty, geopatriation, repatriation, and that feeds into these conversations around governance over AI. And to be honest, NSIs I don't think are particularly good with this sort of engagement, and therefore working as a community. For example, the UN ECE project on AI readiness, the work that the OECD have been leading, World Bank have been doing work, so have IMF. So really working together as a community, I think, is particularly important. But many of those aspects that I've talked about are based on being able to trust those relationships, trust the providers of the data, the users of our data, and suppliers of tech. So we need to continue to have skills in building relationships. But if we're moving more towards that, don't trust people, then probably a lot of those techniques that Matthias was talking about are likely to play a part. So I think we're going to need to continue within our organizations to think about the governance, the processes, the people, those sorts of skills, as well as the technology. So as I said, in summary, we're kind of asking our organizations to do much the same in a way at a high level. We have to have strong governance and ethics to protect the data we use and explain all of that to our stakeholders. But technically how we go about that is clearly changing, and potentially the way that we interact with suppliers and users of our data is also changing. So, maybe it's about trusting no one to start with and building those relationships. And therefore, that's what, as organizations, we need to prepare for.
Thank you. So, Gary, I actually agree with Frankie that at a high level, there's nothing new here. We've always had the concerns about confidentiality and data security and things like that. But as these new big data sets start being used, new tools, Gen AI tools and things like that, there's other technologies like PETs that we can use to help us. From your methodological background, how do we actually gain a better understanding of these technologies and tools so that we have good quality assurance of our outputs and can explain them?
Yeah, so it's an interesting challenge in that it is, in some ways, it is developing, new as we're going with new methods and that. But there's also, as Frankie touched on a little bit, that there is also the existing that we've been using models for some time, and imputation is a model, and we've been using different levels of sophistication over the years, but it is taking it to a whole new level. I think it was interesting though as well is that Ashwell, when he gave his introductory comments, we've heard a lot about trust, and I think there's a really key aspect that we've got to keep there. But I suppose when I'm sitting down and sort of thinking about from a methodological point of view, how we release this, it goes back to can the result be explained? It's a I use a thing called the sniff test. Does it smell right? It's and there's a whole getting the methodologists to actually run some simpler models and see how they align. The calibration and making sure that that the data, the results, and the context are accurate. When you do research, you have a number of processes that you follow through. What are your validation objectives? How are you going to validate the data sets? what are the appropriate sort of measures and detection, how are you going to do validation experiments, and they still hold in today in the use of AI. So I encourage my methodologists to just apply their normal research techniques into these methods. And of course, we've got aspects around bias. We can start using more what-if analysis simulation models, different flavors of it, like prompt testing. Thinking about, okay, can we alter the test data set to see what might happen? Thinking about scalability, what will happen there. And then, of course, Frankie touched on the fact that ethics and fairness have to be considered as well. And I think that's a growing area that methodologists perhaps haven't been thinking a little bit back, about in the past. And I think we've got to become a lot stronger in that. And we think about data sovereignty. So it's interesting because I think some of our existing quality frameworks are still highly relevant. We just have to apply them in a different lens. The final few things I do want to talk about, though, as well, is that we've really got to, when I'm talking, testing, when we're going to introduce new models and that, I really do focus on how we're going to monitor the model, and for ongoing monitoring, and what are the parameters or expectations that we would expect to see, and what happens if it goes a little bit astray. And then the final thing is becoming a whole lot more transparent about the use of models and what we're doing. And as part of the work that when we publish, I am really pushing hard for if we do analysis using simpler models, to actually publish those as well, so that end users can actually look at our simpler models and think, oh, actually, can we use, and how can we apply that as part of our monitoring of the final data, sort of thing. So, yeah.
Thank you, Matthias. I have a question for you. So you talked about all this in the context of AI models, but actually, Frankie's picked up on something as data stewardship of sort of other data, not just data we collect or generate ourselves, is becoming more and more important. And I think there's a possibility where we'll see NSOs thinking about becoming national data offices or data platform organization. And we may move to what my good friend Jeff Bowlby of StatCan refers to as a wholesale model, where really what we're doing is making data available, whereas our current model is very much a retail model where we produce the product, the statistics. In a world where we sort of move to more wholesale data provision, does PETS become more important then, and why? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, because PETS, so first thing, PETS, we shouldn't see them as a kind of silver bullet for all problems with the data protection and privacy protection. We need to look at them in the context of also organizational measures, because you need to put measures in place, and some are better to be technical or technological measures, and some are better to be organizational measures. But in this context of the data stewardship role of NSO, what we can expect is that the data governance arrangements in those, whatever they are, hubs or spaces, data spaces, or these new data ecosystems will vary depending on the purpose of use of data and partners in the data ecosystem. And I think that PETS offer you here some possibility to balance the kind of risk with the usability, and more fine-tune it to the particular use case or particular type of data arrangement. And I think that NSOs that have ambition to become data stewards should invest in skills in pets because it's not that we would need to, develop these cryptographic methods ourselves. They are already developed by other organizations that are much better suited for that. But we need to know how to apply them and when and in which cases, and that will require skills. And I think this skills is similar to other situation when we need to also have a good skills how to manage metadata and data standards and interoperability if we want to be in this position of data stewards in broader role of NSO.
Okay, brilliant.
Osama,
yes.
Can I give a little bit of an example where we've had some experience, and it is pretty simple example, and I'm sure many agencies have done it, but we were bringing together telco data and working with the 3 suppliers of telecom services in New Zealand, and we wanted to bring all the data together, but they were obviously very cautious about giving us data because if we slipped up and published data, their opposition would see, their reach and what have you. So the way we approached that was through building a partnership with each of the 3 telcos and actually getting them to confidentialize the data and then shipping the confidential data through to us. And that gave them a very strong, there was no reason, because if we did slip up, there would be no confidential data to give out because it wasn't confidential in the first place. Now, what was interesting there was that the telcos themselves actually weren't that strong in confidentializing data because, they're all about billing and making sure the connections work. And so we actually ended up implanting some of our staff into their data systems to create the data sets that we were wanting. And then, and demonstrating and talking them through the confidential methodologies. Now, a very simple example, but it actually talks about strength, talks about data governance, it talks moving beyond our boundaries, and I think that's quite a powerful model to think about as we go forward. So yeah, just an example I wanted to share.
Just for what it's worth, I've been thinking for a while with our work, a partnership model with private sector providers where you work with them, I think has worked much better for us than a commercial model where we've tried to procure data, from some commercial providers. Okay, look, I've not been the greatest moderator because we were a bit behind time. Matthias, there is a question or two for you, mainly about, joining pets, and I think something about how you get skills. Can I leave that to you to maybe pick up separately as I move on to the next section? So for the next section is basically, we have Rohit Bhardwaj from the NatStats office of India, although I suspect he's still very busy right now with the AI summit that's going on in India. And he's going to talk about the roadmap from moving from ad hoc pilots to a mature institutionalized data science operation within an NSO. Rohit, are you here?
Yes, I'm there. Maybe the camera is taking some time for me to come up on the screen, but I can start in the interest of time.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Osama. So yes, there's an exciting time in India with AI Summit happening, really exciting. So I'm just going to present what we have been talking about. We have been talking about, all the pilots, all the work everybody is doing, but the ultimate goal is to make it happen, bring everything to the production. So can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, so this is how I'm trying to present. I'm going to talk about how we did it. I mean, how we created a collaborative framework, how we strategically pivot from passive to proactiveness, and what has been our governance model, and how has been the journey so far. I'll not say the journey is complete. Journey is still some time to go, but yes, I'll try to put up a presentation for that. And then I am also going to talk about the impact. As you know, the AI Summit is also about the impact. So what type of impact does it have on our ecosystem? That's what I'm going to talk about it in terms of use cases and other KPIs. So next slide, please. Yes. So traditional barriers, I'm not going to delve much into it. We all know about it. Just one important point that we feel that it's time that everyone starts using AI so that the capacity between those who are using it and those who are not using it does not become so wide that it becomes impossible to fill. So our vision is to leverage collaboration. So collaboration is key here. Leverage collaboration to accelerate AI adoption for quality data and statistics for our national development goal. We call it Viksit Bharat by 2047 when we'll have the 100 years of our independence. Next, please. So this has been the approaches. This is the approach, so these are the approach to the data innovation. First is identify use cases. If you don't have the use cases, nobody is going to believe that anything is possible using AI in official statistics. Do some in-house POCs to find out what is possible and what is not. Do research about the best practices, the feasibility, how the world is taking up various things which you plan to undertake. Those are the very important point. Then collaborate, and this is key to our whole effort of innovation. Actively collaborate with academic institutions, multilateral agencies, and non-governmental partners. And I'll delve into detail as I move forward. And lastly, but not the least, document. Document each step. Document the AI use cases, document the AI readiness framework. So we basically have documented both of these things. We have a documented use cases, and then the readiness framework is also there. And of course, the working papers and everything else can come. So our basic approach is experiment, scale, and then govern. Next, please. So I'll talk about a little bit about the collaborative framework which we have adopted while doing our innovation journey. It's called, we call it a triple helix model. It's a well-known model where government, academia, and startups all come to industry. Probably we all come together and work to achieve a goal. In additionally, we also pitched in researchers and students as well by way of having hackathons and other extension activities, which I'll talk about it as I move forward. So collaboration is the cornerstone of our success, if whatever success we could get by now. Next, please. So let me just discuss some of the journey we undertook of our innovation. We started sometime in 22, and there was a lot of delays in publishing the guidelines. The ownership of the whole innovation activity was not clear. There were not many use cases on which the businesses were agreeing on. And then whenever we approached anyone for collaboration, they asked us what is in it for us. So all these questions dragged us, and we sort of, for 1.5 years, we remained in a passive state. And then we decided to make it more strategically, more proactive. So our senior management reached out to different partners and convinced them to become collaborators in our journey of innovation. We started working on a transparent criteria for partnership, for project, giving the projects, and of course, lastly, the direct academic industry partnership. This is very important because not everything can be done by the statistical office itself. It has to have partners who are well versed with technology, and they can do it in a much better manner. Next, please. So these are some of the things. So the governance models is written, and we have this council which is headed by the head of the NSO, who is the secretary of our ministry, and things like experts from outside, transparent project selection criteria, guidelines based on trustworthy AI, and regular review and adaptive governance is key to all this. So some of the best practices I'm going to read, which we felt over a period of time, are very important. AI champions needs to be encouraged. AI champions needs to be identified, and they needs to be encouraged. Be very proactive in building the partnership, prioritize knowledge sharing, attract specialized AI talent, secure dedicated funding. These are some of the issues which we thought while we moved in our journey have played a very crucial role in making our projects start and remain sustainable. So we followed this EPIC framework. Again, is a very established framework for education, partnership, infrastructure, and commercialization. Commercialization in sense of productionization. Next, please. So this is our journey. It's all on this screen. I'm not going to read it. So we started in early 2022, operationalized in 1.5 years of almost of less active state, and then started with July 2024. And by July 2026, we have 12 use cases undergoing, in some way it's underway, and 5 are already deployed in production. And I'll request all of you who are there, please visit our website, and there are AI use cases section available in our offering. Go there, experience yourself. I'll be very happy to get any feedback. Next, please. So these are the outcomes in terms of number. 12 the number itself speaks. The best part is that we have been able to collaborate with 18 institutions and voluntary organizations and different partners. And we have been able to engage more than 8,500 students by way of hackathons, especially by way of hackathons, and connecting with these institutions. And this is written that, we have worked with IITs, we have worked with Servom and startups, we have worked with voluntary, all the names are there, I need not read it. One thing I just wanted to tell you that we have been able to create a MCP for us, MCP server for us, and which has been really lapped up by the community. And the tweet itself announcing has more than 4 lakh, which is like 400,000 views. Next, please. So this is our workflow. This is important. Quickly identify the use case, do a rapid prototyping. Don't take time on that, because people then will not believe that something is possible. Evaluation and validate, and then decide which ones are fit to be scaled, and then make your institution ready with the capacity and have a framework if possible for that, and then put it in the deployment and production and deployment. Maintaining is something we have outsourced it. We are working with one of our partners to maintain and orchestrate the entire thing. Next, please. Yeah, some of the use cases, all the use cases, you can say we have a notebook LLM corresponding to that. We have a tool available for us. We have an NCP server there. It's again available on our website. The details are there. We have an NIC code classifier there, again available live on our website. Semantic search for data portal is there live. Again, you go to our data portal and it's there. AI search is there. Next, please. And then we have a website chatbot as well. And few of them are in the process of getting a pilot, or it's at the POC stage. The idea is that in next 6 months, create a data as a service platform with help of the AI. Next, please. So these are the lessons learned. It's all there. I'll only say one point is that active engagement is always better than passively waiting for something. And in NSOs, because we are publicly funded, it's our responsibility to create a safe place to fail, because that's very important especially for innovation practices. And way forward, how we intend to move forward, I'll say we'll keep expanding the collaboration. We will create an AI readiness framework for data. By the way, we have one, and that has also been selected for the upcoming conference of ISI I think it's in May sometime. And lastly, but we are going to make all the code bases public. So our MCP server code base is public on our GitHub. Anybody can go and raise a pull request. So building a replicable model for other national statistics office is our ultimate aim. Next, please. So this is a nutshell, a picture again generated by AI, which talks about the innovation journey of NSO India. It's all there. I thought I'll put it up in the last. So if there's a discussion, this can be helpful. Thank you very much. And I'm ready for any question or discussion.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. Ivan, are you here with us? Great. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
So there was an interesting comment there from Rohit about, sort of trying to set up a model for other NSOs, which is one aspect of working in the open. There's been a lot of talk about working in the open tools, open, all that sort of stuff. Why do you think there's a lot of talk about this, and why is this important?
Yeah, thank you, Osama. And it's been fascinating to follow the presenters and the discussions. I think openness is a central issue as we move forward when it comes to our AI, because openness is about trust. And as we all know, as statistics officers, our value has so much been about transparency, reproducibility, accountability. That's really what we've derived our legitimacy in official statistics. So even as we embark on integrating AI and, referring back to the idea of institutionalization, for sure that's already happening. It's no longer a question of institutionalizing. It's probably more of how we do it in a deliberate, responsible, and sustainable way. And that's why this key question you raise is very paramount in terms of openness in how we do things. And I think specifically, we could think of it being so beneficial to all of us in a couple of ways. One is that with openness, we are able to get feedback from others in terms of the things we are doing in the models we are developing, which obviously helps us get better. But also with openness, we are able to share and learn from each other. We're able to share and learn from each other. And the other thing is that with openness, we are able to also build that trust in the users of our statistics. So I think openness is definitely a fundamental issue here that we should all keep in mind and be able to integrate. But thinking of some of the ideas around the reuse of models and the like, I mean, in most of our statistics offices, this being a new area, we can all agree that some of the ideas like India has presented and the others, it would really be beneficial to adopt them given the limited skills or competencies in statistics offices. So I think openness also brings that opportunity. And I think through the regional hubs that we have, like the one in Africa, that's one of the things we aim to, in the sense that from what we do in Rwanda or what is done in another country, it can be able to be shareable. So openness is really a critical one, and I hope we all adopt it.
Excellent. Right, I have a question for you, if
Yes.
you're still around. Okay, so I regularly say that prototyping is easy, but implementation is very hard. And if I looked at the workflow diagram you showed, it would suggest it's easy. I'm not quite sure it is so easy, but what key lesson do you have for us to make the journey from prototyping to implementation into business systems easier?
Okay, thank you, Osama. 3 points basically. Find your use case. Do a quick pilot on that. You need to quickly work with people who have skills. I mean, not every skill exists in an NSO. So you need to find that partners who are ready to work with you, be it through a procurement or otherwise, and start working with them, and then show it to the business or the domain expert. And once that helps them bring those people on board. It's not always the case that domain is already onboarded. I mean, at times they need some evidence to get onboarded. Once they are onboarded, ensure that there is a time limit before you produce a minimum viable product.
Okay.
And for that, I don't have I mean, when we were doing it, all our models are open weighted model, but we should not, I mean, my opinion is that we should not wait for it. Whatever suits anyone, and that should be the approach. But produce something which can be shown to the senior management as something viable, and take the trust, I mean, and then get the trust of the senior management on your side. Once you have the senior management support and something to show up, I guess every other things fall in place.
Which actually links back to something Marcus said earlier about, you show senior management, they're only going to be interested in if they can see that there's an impact here, potential impact, and not just that the work is interesting. Ivan, going back to the theme of openness, so you've talked about openness in terms of transparency and sharing. To what extent are you at the National Institute of Statistics for Rwanda using open tools like GitHub and sort of, I think more and more NSOs are putting out the code that they use for various things that they develop onto their GitHub repositories. To what extent are you using that and also putting your own code out onto a GitHub repository?
Yeah, not to the desirable extent, Osama. I think this is something that we have just started. At the moment, the way we've approached the things we are doing are more still in the pilot phase. So we've been open to collaborate with different partners like the Office of Statistics of UK or the World Bank, where some of our projects we've opened up to them for feedback and validation. But the idea is what you just touched on, which is be able at the point where we feel like some of these things are meaningful, good to go, then we open them up through the regional hub, and we are working closer with the statistics office in the Africa Statistics Office in Addis Ababa, coordinated by Dr. Samuel, that we come to that level where some of these projects will be made more available. But so far what we are doing is through workshops, and we've had several workshops, so we invite colleagues from Africa, and they come and see what we're doing, and we're able to share more from a practical perspective.
Okay, brilliant. Because I've been a bad moderator, I've run over time, so I'm just going to give you some of my views of what we've heard today. We have new large data sets and new tools, which means that there is more and more that we can do. But that requires both capability building within NSOs and also more collaboration between NSOs, while adhering to those fundamental principles that I think NSOs have always adhered to. And all this new big data and all this new technology and AI doesn't actually change those fundamental principles to me. And then sort of gets back to what Ivan's been saying: openness, sharing. This all helps. I think there is something that UNSD can do there, which is perfect, because I'm now handing over to Amma to just say some closing words.
Thank you very much, Osama, and great to see you again, and many of the colleagues here. And let me assure you that you are very far off being a bad moderator. All right, you've been a fantastic moderator, and you led this with effectiveness and efficiency. So thank you very much to you, and thank you all to the colleagues and speakers for their great and valuable insights, really. So I'm really grateful for that. Allow me also very quickly to thank, obviously, Luis and my team, Maria and Clarence, for also supporting this webinar. So thank you very much to all. Clearly, I'm not going to try or even attempt to try to kind of summarize any of these discussions, all right? But allow me just to make 3 points from the UNSD perspective, all right, on this fantastic webinar. The first point is really about the transitioning from the production to readiness. While this webinar, obviously, and we heard from all of you and from all the speakers, their insights about really the tools of production and how to develop the AI systems, all right, needed for such a production and so on. And hence, many of the discussions seem technical. Clearly and inevitably, I would say, the speakers and the discussions delved into really important policy issues, or kind of raised up some policy issues, all right? And I try to enumerate some of them, not exhaustive, obviously, but obviously issues of human capital and managing of human capital came. The issues of collaboration, all right, and I think here the South-South cooperation came very strongly, all right, and the examples of INEGI, the regional and global hubs, and so on came very strongly. Issues of quality assurance, cost and financing, privacy issues, and holistic approach to governance in AI came as important as well. All that leads me just to the importance of this work and to the importance of the CEBD role, all right, and hopefully kind of bringing and connecting the dots in all this. And again, I'm grateful to Ashwell for his presence and for opening this webinar. But I think more important, it proves that this webinar provides a fantastic preparation and the foundation for the Friday seminar on the 27th, which I hope to see you and many of you there, all right, because building on this webinar and the tools of production that we discussed here, we can move to a meaningful discussion on the demand side, all right, of AI readiness. So that's my first point. My second point is that we in UNSD actually are trying to walk the talk, all right, we are fascinated by what's happening, but we are also trying to modernize our own internal operations, testing new data engineering practices assisted by the use of AI, such as LLM technologies, and sharing our experiences with our communities of practice. One example is that we are deploying an AI-driven knowledge management system to analyze capacity gaps and ensure our technical innovations meets real demand in the global statistical community. And we look forward, obviously, to share this with you in more details in another opportunity. My third point is that we remain focused at UNSD in supporting our member states through innovations. All right. We continue working with our partners to ensure that official statistics are machine actionable and interoperable. Through the UN Global Platform that many of you have contributed and continue to contribute, and we're again grateful for all this contribution, we are moving beyond theoretical training to providing sandboxes. And that would allow NSOs to overcome local IT bottlenecks and access cloud infrastructure and big data tool as a service. We're also operationalizing these principles through the UN System Data Commons, a federated architecture that transitions our data from isolated silos into an AI-ready semantic knowledge graph. So let me again close this fantastic webinar by thanking all of you for the contribution, by inviting you all to attend and participate and again speak in the strategic and governance discussion in the Friday seminar on AI readiness. And I think with all of this and this kind of two events together, we hope that we are contributing to kind of bring this community closer to what everybody mentioned repeatedly, which is the issue of trust, all right? Trust by the public, but also trust within the statistical community about the AI applications and readiness as well and use. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you all on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll hope to see lots of people in New York. Thank you, everyone. Yes, thanks to all the speakers, all the presenters, Luis and the group for organizing, and everyone for contributing to the chat and also asking questions. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
See you.
See you.
Thank you. You're all good.